Hi, friends. Thanks for joining us. Smash that subscribe button. The channel's grown so much in the past month or so, and we can't thank y'all enough. Benny, where can they find us on social media?
Yeah, you can find us. We're at Ray Benny Sports. We're on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, everyone's favorite TikTok, and check us out on Reddit and leave us a rating on your favorite podcast provider.
This is a CFL heavy episode, as they all are. But we're going to start off with the Bombers and the Lions review, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And let's get out of the way. Out of the way. Without a doubt, BC was tired. They had a less week. Bombers had more days of rest. So yes, fine. That's out of the way. And yes, they don't have their number one starting quarterback. Okay, BC Lions. Bombers still put a 50 burger on the Lions. Let's start off with the good. What do you have for good? Yeah, I know what you're going to start with. So go ahead.
Yeah, you know what? We've not panned him a lot, but we've kind of been on him about his offense and his play calling and all that stuff. I'm going to give a good to Buck Pierce and his play calling, and then on offense executing that play calling very well, especially early in that game. They came in with a game plan. They had a game plan. This is what we're going to attack. We're going to attack them deep. They found something in that BCD, and they went at it, and they never looked back. And they had won that game basically in the first quarter. You know, you never saw any form of life really with BC. Even if they tried to get back in the game, they had drives. The Bomber D would be like, okay, that's enough. Kick a field goal, you know. So Bomber offense, Buck Pierce, Zach Karlsson, you know, Kenny Lawler, all good.
I think BC thought what I thought would happen in the game. I think BC thought Bomber would play bully ball, run the ball, and try to get some momentum that way. And it's funny because the Bombers did play heavy set early. Like they played heavy. That's a penalty they got in the first play of the game where they backed them up to the 5-yard line because the tight end was not on the line. I was like, oh, they're playing heavy early, which is great, which I cried for weeks and weeks and weeks, but they effed up the first play. But then they go on and they have a huge pass to Wolotarski and then a long bomb to Schoen, both out of the heavy set. So you know what? Play the heavy set. That is my favorite shit in the playbook. Buck Pierce, use it until you grind the other team into the ground because it works. Like, look at the receivers they have out for that. Lawler, Schoen, Dembski, and Wolotarski. That's a strong 4 receivers. That's strong enough against any secondary. And then you have an extra blocker to give Caleros time. And you have Oliveira coming out of the backfield. Like, I'm so happy they started with that formation and they smashed BC with it right away. Like on that Dalton Schoen touchdown. It was beautiful.
Yeah,
so
well,
I can't complain about them not using the heavy set this week.
6 offensive linemen in the game for 5 of their 6 touchdowns. So I think the only one was the one by Prukop or Drew Brown later in the game.
That was crazy.
So yeah, so they had that plan and they kept the line kept Karlsson clean, right? No sacks this time compared to 7 last time. Matthew Betts non-existent basically in this game.
Yeah.
So
I don't think I heard his name once. I was in the stands, but I don't think I heard anyone talking about him.
They talked about him a bit on TV, but not good things. I mean, he hadn't done much in that game, so.
Jeez. And also with the extra time that you're giving Caleros, it gives the receivers an extra bit of time to do those second moves and get the separation that you saw on those long bombs in the running game, averaging 7.2 yards per carry. Brady Oliveira was 6 point something, but the running game is total 7.2 yards per carry. That's crazy. Good for them. Yeah. Good for that O-line.
Well, and then, you got your receivers. You got Lawler at 200 yards. You got Schoen at 137. And Dembski ended with 62, but still had 5 catches in that game, too. And then Wolotarski, the only one who didn't end up getting a catch, I think, was Rashid Bailey, who ended up – did he get the touchdown? Or he
got one touchdown, 1 catch, 1 touchdown.
But was that the one that ended up getting called back?
I thought he had a 57-yarder, didn't he?
No, Rashid, no. He ended up having a carry, but no no receptions from what I looked at today.
Bailey got that touchdown.
No,
that's right. That's right.
And then the one called back that Karlsson ended up losing, but Karlsson 3 touchdowns. You know, so
that's crazy. And also shout out to Buck Pierce for using 5 different ball carriers. Like the amount of confusion and motion that led to that really put BC on their heels rather than them be able to attack the line and be so ferocious and aggressive on their defense. It forced them to really take a look, be reactive, and by the time the play was on, it's too late. You had a receiver way behind you because the DBs had their eyes caught in the backfield, or you had a big hole because the DBs and linebackers' feet were on the ground because they didn't know where the ball was going. So again, shout out to Buck Pierce and the motion and the use of different ball carriers. I really like that.
This is the offense that I was expecting at the beginning of the year. That one that cannot be stopped. It could go out and score 40, obviously 50 points kind of thing, or 30 to 50, somewhere in that range, right?
That's crazy.
A good offense that could tick. And now they got Lawler back, and maybe that's what they're kind of needed to get that star receiver out there, because he won a couple nice jump balls out there.
Absolutely.
Got open on a few other plays. Got dinged for a pass interference call, which he did not like. So,
I didn't like that.
Yeah. So he could have had way more than 200 yards. So
let the guy play football, man. Like, come on. Notice we haven't even talked about the defense yet. And this was like the first time, not the first time, early on the season, but still they're allowing a lot of points. But the dark side really loomed heavy in this one. No offensive touchdowns allowed.
Yeah.
Demario Houston with another pick. Are you kidding me?
Brandon Alexander as well.
He was all over the field, just making Evans and Davis reconsider their decisions. It was crazy.
Yeah, and then
looked great.
The hits on Evans, Big Hill's hit on Evans. Unfortunately, Evans got hurt or wherever it happened there. I think he was probably getting pulled at some point anyways, because he wasn't having the greatest game. And they got him after him early, and they were giving him shots, and they got him out of that pocket running around, and he was already scared. He was missing passes downfield to open receivers already.
Absolutely.
And then to me is that big stop in the first quarter on third down that led to, the Bombers getting up another touchdown after that. So D played well, and they didn't really have to in this game necessarily, but they still came out and they balled. And, and if it wasn't for the offense kind of getting lax at the end, there probably wouldn't have been another touchdown in this game for BC.
Yeah, you talk about that stop and guys who don't get a lot of shout out because they're not in the stat line really heavy. Ricky Walker. Is disruptive on that line, taking up a lot of space. Not a big guy, but he takes up a lot of space, and he's a wrecking ball. And the Bombers have kind of had a lot of luck with these small guys that could really cause havoc. Jerome Haywood, and then they had the Stove. What's his name again?
Richardson.
Yes, Stevie Richardson. And now this guy, again, he's a little bigger than those guys. He's not as stocky, but he's a smaller guy that just causes havoc on the D line. And that also frees up the Jeffcoat and Jefferson. So, wow.
Yeah, sack for Jeffcoat, sack for Thomas. Nothing for Willie Jefferson, although he got dinged on that penalty too, where he lost his sack. So,
can we go then to the bad? Can that be a segue to the bad, or do you have more good?
Let me just point out Kyrie Wilson and Winston Rose both coming into this game as well, and excelling and playing very good and not looking at a place or looking like they haven't played in a year or whatever it's been, especially for Kyrie Wilson. It's over a year. Yeah. Winston Rose, maybe not that long, obviously, but they didn't look at a place, and they fit right into that D.
And Winston Rose was taking Whitehead head on.
Yeah.
And he played him well. Those guys only had those short routes, really. And those DBs were right on it.
So let's one more. Let me say, because we get on him too, Jamison Sheehan had a pretty good game as well. Only 4 punts this game. One was at least 55 yards. So he pinned the BC back a couple times.
Good for that young man.
Yes.
Still getting used to the game.
Young man. He's like, what, 30 something?
Oh, how old are we?
Older than that, I guess.
Let's talk about the bad. About that sack, the review on the horse collar. I don't know who is up in that Bomber replay booth, but that was a pretty clear call from section 112, row 26, seat 7. I saw it from there, so I don't have no idea what that review was about.
Yeah, I think what O'Shea ended up saying is there was a lot of plays in the last game, or I think it was against BC, where he didn't end up challenging, where he probably could have ended up winning. So I think he felt like he almost had to do this one. To me, it wasn't a typical horse collar tackle to me when I was watching it. Like, he held him back. Like, he held him obviously in the horse collar, but it was more like he stopped him from running instead of pulling him down kind of thing, right? So I could see that why he probably challenged that, but yeah, you're going to lose that usually. So
letter of the law is grabbing the back of the jersey or the pads.
Yeah. Well, the unfortunate thing is he didn't even probably need to do that, because he would have ended up getting sacked anyways.
Absolutely. But it's one of those bang bang, you're in the moment, you just grab, and son of a gun, you get a penalty. It was a great play by Willie Jefferson. Always noticed on the defense. Do you have any more bad? I got a couple more bads.
Our punt returns, kick returns, just without Janarian Grant has not been good. I don't blame McRae altogether, because that's not his normal position, but not good. And then on the flip side, they gave up some pretty good runs to Terry Williams when he was kick returning or punt returning. He had what did he have? He was 195. His longest was 62 on a kick return, and a punt. One of the punts that he ended up getting a return, it was 35 yards. So they got to clean that up a bit.
Yeah, to piggyback on that. Shout out to at Farside 1951 on YouTube for noticing McRae isn't as confident on those punts, and I think that's true. There was that also, when I saw him earlier on, just wasn't finding holes, but there was that one later on in the game where he kind of bumbled it, and I was like, you know what? At Farside 1951 is correct. He's not that good at punts, and maybe it's just about getting him comfortable with it.
Yeah,
because I don't know. Have you heard how long Grant is out for?
No, because he was just put on the 6-game injury list. So I don't fully understand that 6-game injury list because you can come off early. So
exactly, there's no penalties, or maybe there's we don't know. But something has to get better there. And I think we mentioned the coverage last week, but I think McRae's game needs to get polished. Not knocking his game, just more reps.
There is definitely a few times where he's not catching that ball cleanly. It's more than once, and it's just that delays him from even looking upfield and finding that hole. So,
and that's one of those things you really can't simulate in practice.
No,
when you have guys coming down the field that want to take your head off, your boys on the team aren't going to do that.
No,
you know that.
Yeah,
so that pressure's not there, and you don't have all these people watching you out at the same time.
Oh yeah, you got 30,000 people watching you, waiting for you to drop it.
30,847, I think it was.
Another good crowd, man.
Ooh, sheesh. Do you have any ugly?
I guess I'll just throw them into the ugly because we've seen it before with the offense kind of getting a little bit lax later in the game. The Karlsson interception in this game, just a bad play altogether. You had Oliveira there. It seemed sloppy. And then to me, Oliveira's fumble that led to a BC touchdown again. It happened in the Ottawa game. Same thing. Karlsson interception and then a Oliveira fumble, or maybe it's the other way around. But, it's just having that lead and trying to kill the game, right? Mm-hmm. You got to be focused still in those moments. They did it against Hamilton as well this year. So just like to see them clean that up a little bit.
And on the Oliver fumble, again, like the Ottawa one, he was like on a pure run. Yeah. It wasn't like in a pile where guys are all over him. He was on a run, full speed. So just something that I'm sure he noticed. He was cussed about it a little bit after the game. He realized that he's on himself, but we got to mention it in the bad because it's not good.
He got the touchdown on the next series, right? We were texting each other and just like, so
27-yarder, 28-yarder.
Yeah, and you knew he just wanted to hit somebody. He didn't get touched, I don't think, at all, but he was ready to run someone over.
So. And that's another thing we talked about last week, the yards before contact. They need to really get that up, and they obviously got that up with Oliveira in this game. He gets averaging like 6 point something, and he only ran the ball 6 times or something.
Yeah, it wasn't
nine
a lot,
times. So. 9 times. Oh, geez.
Yeah.
Ugly? You have any ugly other than the BC performance?
No, that's it for me.
TDs, Dayton Zevin gets hurt. D-line. Oh,
Vernon Adams being the third stringer and not dressed, and then dressing at halftime.
You know what? Ugly. Ugly? We've said this many times this year. Can the CFL and that dumbass genius sport get their stuff together with the stats? Why are stats still on PDF? What is that? What is that? Like, come on, for people who actually want to follow stats or want to do fantasy and keep up with what's going on and what just happened, we have to go through these PDFs showing top 3. You can't. That's ugly. That's ugly still.
Yeah, and the popularity of the NFL is fantasy football. Quite a bit of it is fantasy football, bringing in the non-fans, the guys that don't have a favorite team necessarily, or girls that have favorite teams, but they watch all the games because they got a fantasy football team, and they do want. You think if there was no stats for them to look up and keep track of how they're doing in fantasy football, they wouldn't be losing their mind right now?
That's crazy.
And that's where the CFL is dropping the ball. They have fantasy football stuff, but you can't even look to see until the game's over the next day. Oh, this is how this player did, kind of thing. It's like,
or we get the injury report the day before saying, oh, this person's hurt, and we have no information on the backup or no stats. It's ugly.
Yeah, and we're into August. We're halfway through the season here.
Didn't they say July? Yeah. Mid-July, it'd be all running?
Oh, yeah.
Come on, CFL. You know what? Maybe put expansion on the back burner for now if you can't do 2 things at once. Figure out statistics. I'm going to cuss. Fans, Bomber fans, BC fans also, put your thoughts on the game, the review, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Thanks for all your contributions last week. Great comments. Let's go on to team grades. Let's start with Winnipeg. Okay. They got an A. Total team effort, not perfect, but against a team like BC, very impressive. Would have given them an A+ if the BC team would have been fully rested and they're playing their number one QB, and they kind of got the same result. But I'll give them an A for that.
Yeah, can't wait for October 6th because that'll be a great game, the tiebreaker in this all, and hopefully both teams are healthy. Right, getting Lawler back was huge for the Bombers in this one. Not having Vernon Adams, although I don't know if Vernon Adams would have fared as well that he did the first time when he had hours in the backfield to look downfield and find open receivers. Right, he would have been a little bit more under pressure. I'm sure he would have done better than Dane Evans did, but I'm giving BC an F. They got beat in all phases pretty much of this game. The D got exposed. Maybe like you're saying, they're a little bit tired coming off a short rest and all that kind of stuff. So we'll see in October who is the better team.
Can't wait for that matchup. That's huge. You gotta watch that on TV. It's gonna be a late one.
Yeah, and that should be the battle for first. I can't see any other team battling these two teams for first in that West.
Shoot, that's an old school. Man, I might listen to that on the radio under the sheets on that night for old school.
Can we bring back Bob Irving for that one?
That's the deal. I was about to say it's not going to be Knuckles, son of a. Let's go on to Calgary. I'm going to give them an A as well. They got Mills going and they committed to it. You know, that's a blueprint they got to stick to. It was both you and I were mind boggled as to why they didn't continue that with the Bombers, and they continued that on this game against the undefeated Toronto. Son of a gun. The football gods do have a sense of humor, and they took away that 7th in a row from Toronto. I was questioning that, and I should have went with it.
Yeah.
You know, Calgary can be a factor throughout the year if they do limit their mistakes. They're a physical team, and if they don't put it on Meyer's shoulders, they can survive, and they might break a heart or two. But I'll give them an A.
I agree. They have to 36 carries for Dietrich Mills on 160 yards. So that's they obviously leaned on him there and didn't lean on Jake Meyer to win this game. And that's where I think they and I think it was hard for Dickinson to not let his quarterback do what what Dickinson used to do. You got to rely on that other part of the game. I'm going to give the Argos a D. Unfortunately, Chad Kelly went down. The Argos seem to have played it safe by taking him out, kind of mentioning that he could have possibly came back in and he's not as hurt as they're kind of letting on. So, but again, we questioned where Toronto would be if Chad Kelly got hurt because their backups are no experience, right? Cam Dukes came in and for them, they abandoned almost that run game. Andrew Harris had one carry.
The bread and butter.
And I don't know if you had mentioned Ouellette maybe left this game for a bit. So, but they didn't help Cam Dukes. He still threw 15 times, and I know you were down, but it was only 20-7 or whatever it was.
Absolutely. Right? And they saw the other good Canadian running back too.
So I'm surprised they kind of abandoned their running game, but not a good week for the Argos.
I'm going to call an audible here. Surprise, surprise. I'm going to move the Chad Kelly question up to right now. If Chad Kelly were to miss an extended amount in time, where would you put the Argos in the power rankings?
It's hard to say because so many teams are still so bad, but I would definitely take them out of the top 2. I would still probably leave them at least 3 to 4 until I can see what Cam Dukes kind of looks like. Because to me, none of these other teams have done anything to make me go, ooh, look out.
Yeah. Montreal's kind of making me say, ooh, look out, especially if they get fully healthy and with the signing of Sean Lemon. We'll get into their thing in a bit. But I'm going to put them at 6, around-ish, 6, 5 or 6. Sure, Cam Dukes might be good, but from what I saw, from what he offered, I don't get any sense that he's a suitable backup to keep the team at the level of play that they want to be, even with extended amount of time. But hey, practice, right?
Yeah.
Practice. So I'm going to have them around 5 or 6 in the power rankings there. If Chad Kelly is out for extended amount of time.
Sounds like he's not. Sounds like he may miss this week's game, and then they got another bye. Their third bye already. So he may be back after that. So he only missed 1 game. So
that's not good for late in the year when it gets cold at all. Let's talk about their rivals, the Tiger Cats. I'm going to give them a D. They are playing horrible. After all those signings, the O-line is non-existent. The D-line is underperforming in a huge way. The team folded in the second half. Where's the coaching? Powell looked good, getting 170 yards almost, and then he got 30-something in the second half. It's It's horrible. Like, this falls on Steinhauer's plate, and unfortunately, the offensive coordinator mutually parted ways, Tommy Condell. But the guy doesn't have a QB to work with.
No.
Steinhauer, and this really begs the question, let's look at these coaches who are like general managers and presidents. Who do we have? We have this guy, Steinhauer, Dickinson, and Chris Jones. Where is it successful? Stop doing it.
Yeah. Yeah, it doesn't work out too well. It's too many hats to be wearing in this situation.
Yeah, that's a D for me for the Ticats right now.
I'm going to give Montreal a C+. Offensively, they didn't get it going until later. Their defense, though, was on top of it. Montreal's first 4 drives, interception, missed field goal, interception, 2-0. Hamilton could not take advantage of any of that. They only scored 7 points out of any of that. So, again, maybe that's why Tommy got fired there. But again, you got Powell, who's what, third stringer, right? Anyways, Ricardo had a decent night later on, stats wise, like later in the game when the offense kind of woke up. So the D saved Montreal here, and kept them in this game. And then the offense finally got 2 late touchdowns. Standback finally got it going over 100. Austin Mack's still having a wicked season, another over 100 yards for him. So Montreal's got the D. They got the D to keep them in games. That offense has to figure out maybe a little bit sooner if they want to compete with the likes of, say, BC or Winnipeg and Toronto with Chad Kelly.
Montreal, I'm not going to jump on their bandwagon, but things are looking up for them, I think. I don't think their offensive line allowed any sacks in this game, which is encouraging. William Steinbach is getting more yards, which is encouraging. And they still put up 24 without one of their best receivers. And we knew their defense was good. So Montreal ain't no joke.
Yeah, 3 sacks, a fumble recovered, and 2 interceptions. And speaking of Sean Lemon, caused a fumble, 2 sacks, and intercepted in the 4th quarter.
Lemonade.
Great night. And I don't know why it took so long for a team to freaking sign this guy.
Maybe he inspired the offensive line.
Maybe.
Shoot. Did we go through all the grades?
No, we got one more. Saskatchewan, Ottawa.
There you go. Making sure. Saskatchewan, they got a C from me. I'm glad they stuck with fine, but the coaching is just not good. If this was any other team, they might have lost to the Elks this week.
Yeah.
It was like the coaching. My goodness. And good for the kicker for hitting one. He was like 0 for 4 on over 50, and he got a 54 for the winner. So good for them, but they didn't look good.
No, and that gamble late in the game on 3rd down on your own 20. Some people say, hey, it was the right call or whatever. I'm like, I don't know. I don't think so. You ended up getting lucking out, but I would have punted that ball deep and had your defense try to stop them more than anything, especially the way Crum had been playing, really. Right. He wasn't having the best of games. So you think he's going to drive 80 yards or 50 yards or 40 yards, whatever it was. So
no.
I'm going to give Ottawa a D. And I would almost feel like slipping it down to an F just for Bobby Dice's call to kick a field goal from the 1. What did Herm Edwards say?
You play
to win the game. You play to win the game. Bobby Dice played not to lose this game, and he lost.
Yeah.
I don't even care if you didn't even get it. They still had to get out of their end zone and get a bunch of yards to get out of there and not give you the ball back in great field position.
A whole bunch of yards.
Yeah, I know they got stopped earlier, like in that 4th quarter on a 3rd down sneak, but come on, man. You got to grab this by the horns and you got to punch that thing in. Especially with a team, I don't know, give that confidence to the Red Blacks, right? I don't know. I don't like it. I did not like that play, and I was yelling at the TV.
And then they kick it to Alford. Are you kidding me?
Yes. And is it not that? So Saskatchewan kicked the field goal. So Ottawa at that point can decide to take the ball at the 40, right? Instead of having it, or is it different in the last 2 minutes of the game? No, because Ottawa did it. They kicked it off.
Saskatchewan.
Do you have to kick off?
Yeah, but when you have Alford, you're like, dude,
Saskatchewan fine. Yeah.
Yeah.
But Ottawa then ended up doing the same. Unless they have to do the kickoff. I don't know the rules there, because why wouldn't you take the ball at your own 40 and start from there and have to try to get 20 yards or so, 25 yards?
Yeah, it's a new rule when you're within, was it 3 minutes that you
have to kick off?
I think so.
Okay.
So, and we have to look at those.
Someone let us know changes. For sure. Yes.
So not Randy Ambrosi. Let's move on. James Murphy. Named to the Ring of Honor. Your thoughts on that?
Oh, fantastic. About time.
Yeah.
I don't know really why it ended up taking this long, but great guy on the field. Great guy. We interviewed him too. He was fantastic. So good to see him finally getting that honor.
Yeah, like I said, it's about that time. Why did it take so long? But then I looked at the list of inductees, and I think he could have made it maybe in the 2016 team, but you already had Chris Walby and Dieter Brock from the same era.
Yeah.
And the only guy that you might have taken out of 2016, and please don't be mad at me, Bomber fans, no disrespect, is probably Doug Brown out of those, because in 2016, every game had an inductee.
Yeah.
So Doug Brown, just because he was the most recent, might have taken a step back, but it's hard to really take any of those other guys out before James Murphy.
Yeah, and it's all well deserved by all these guys, even Doug Brown especially too, right? So it's kind of hard to figure it out, but
yeah,
it's quite a while. But
I wouldn't want to make
that he
that
finally
decision.
got it. No,
and in 2016, you already had Milt Stegall, so it's hard to put another receiver in there too.
Spread it around.
The cards were stacked against him, and they had to put Joe Pop in there before Murphy, and I don't complain against that either.
No.
Yeah, good luck to those people who made that decision. Talking about the Bombers' next game, who they play next?
Edmonton on Thursday.
And Edmonton has named Trey Ford as their starter. Good or bad?
Good move, but bad that it's against the Bombers first, who are playing really, really well on D. But you had to do it. You had to go to. I'm surprised it took him this long to even get to Ford. You drafted this guy high for a reason. Get him in these games, see what he can do. So it's about time. Let's see what he can do, and hopefully it works out next week, not this week.
It can be good for the Elks and bad for the Bombers. And this might be the last time I give any kind of street cred to the evil genius. Maybe he's thinking we have a bye now, gives him extra time. And also the Bombers have trouble with mobile quarterbacks that they don't have much tape on. Yeah. Crum showed them that. So maybe this is the perfect time where you have a team that's confident, aggressive, to put this a little bit of unknown quarterback in there that has nothing to lose, right? Just like Crum, nothing to lose. So maybe this is a perfect situation. Do I think that'll happen? Would I gamble that? No. Yeah. But I'm saying it could be a good thing. Could be very bad.
Is Eugene Lewis back at least? Is he? He's even close, because that would help him, I guess. But
for sure that would help him. He's like he's a top 5 receiver in the league when healthy.
I know.
Oh my goodness.
It'll be interesting. At least it's at home for the Elks, so
yeah, they got to win there
22.
sometime.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Let's go with game balls of the week. One on offense, one on defense, and one on special teams. Who are you going to give your offensive game ball to?
Can I give 2?
Week 9. No, you can't. You got to give 1. That's why it's a game ball. Because if you take 2, then I'm screwed if one of those are mine.
I'm giving it to Kenny Lawler. 200 yards, touchdowns, 7 catches, just a force. And then, like we said, that pass interference, that was kind of iffy. So wicked game for him. The guys wanted to get 2,000. His goal was 2,000 yards this year. He still thinks he can get there possibly. I don't know, missing that many games, but hey, 200 yards in a game is fantastic.
I have 10 more of those games and he's there.
Yeah.
Or 9. 9 more and a little less. I'm going to go with Zach Collaros. And sorry, CFL fans, you're going to say, oh, fan homeboys. Yo, they just put a 50 piece on BC. And Zach Collaros looked like he's in MOP form. He went for 369 and 3 touchdowns with 70%. He's the dude right now in the league. Yeah, defense.
He was the other guy I was going to give it to as well.
Oh, sure. But there's another receiver we could have given to as well on the Bombers, but I won't.
Yeah. Just looking at it quickly, like there's no other team that scored over 30 points this week in the CFL. So how do you not give the offensive player to a team that put 50?
It's tough.
All on offense, really, right?
Absolutely.
And the defense didn't score any touchdowns.
Or special teams.
They had 3 field goals, I think, right? Something like that. So yeah.
Defense, who's your who you giving the game ball to in week 9?
Giving it to the Lemonator. Wicked game for his game back, man. 2 sacks, like I said, all his other stats earlier, but wicked to see him back and be a force out there.
Yeah, Sean Lemonator, awesome. I'm going to give it to Anthony Lanier on Saskatchewan. 3 sacks and was a huge factor on quelling that Ottawa comeback. Is quelling a word?
Quelling. Sounds like it.
Who cares? Special teams. I don't got an English degree. Shoot. Special teams. I'm gonna give it to, I mentioned him earlier, Brett Lothar. 4 for 4, made his points after, and he made that big 54-yarder in the final bit of the game to win it for Saskatchewan. So I'm gonna give it to Lothar.
I have him as well. I gotta agree on that. Usually when a kicker is hitting a 54-yarder in the CFL for the win, that's a great play. So I'm gonna give it to Brett Lothar as well.
Okay, then mini shout out to the punter on Ottawa, Leone. He averaged like 48 yards per punt, and Alfred only gained like 4 yards against him. So that's some good airtime. Why don't they have the hang time clock anymore?
Did they have it in the CFL? I remember they had it in the NFL. Did
in the
CFL?
NFL for sure.
Yeah.
Reggie Roby. You could say Hail Mary while he put that thing in the air. The whole prayer, slowly. CFL fans, put your put it whatever you want in the comments. Let's go to hot topics. What's the most likely scenario to happen with Josh Jacobs? I think he's going to sign that franchise tender and play for $10 million. It's you know what? The franchise thing is the dumbest thing in professional football. It may be professional sports. Pay the players for their performance or let them go on the market. I hate that, but he's screwed.
I get the franchise thing a little bit because the NHL does it with the restricted free agency until like 7 years of NHL service, right?
That's very different.
I like it. Yeah, I know, but it's just it's one of those things where it can keep a player with a team in small markets. But the NFL is kind of using it just to screw these guys over, really. So they're not using it what it was really intended for at all. I could see Josh Jacob holding out at least the regular season and maybe beyond that. And maybe if the Raiders start off slow and are struggling, especially in the run game, then maybe they go out and sign him at this point. But I don't think they can do much to help to up his contract. You know, we saw Barkley sign, right? So I don't know if they can even change it much or even sign into a long-term deal at this point. So I can see him sitting.
Hunter Renfrow is making $15 million on the Raiders. Josh Jacobs, I think, is making 13. This makes no. I'm not Josh Jacobs. The other receiver, Jacoby Myers. This makes no sense, man.
Yeah.
It's the NFL.
And who was their best player besides Devontae Adams last year? You know, Josh Jacobs. So
stupid. Let's keep talking about running backs because they're awesome. Who's a better fit for the Patriots, Delvin Cook or Ezekiel Elliott? You can go.
I'm going Dalvin Cook, just because he seemed like he still has something left in that tank. You know, I'm kind of still surprised that Minnesota even got rid of him. Maybe the contract was too much. Speaking of running back contracts, but yeah, I would take Dalvin Cook.
I'm going to go Ezekiel Elliott. He'd be a better fit with the Patriots. Belichick has a way with veteran running backs, and he has a way with big running backs. Like I loved how he used LeGarrette Blount.
That's true.
And usually he uses his secondary running backs as receiving backs. So that can be filled for cheaper rather than pay Delvin Cook all that money.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm going to go with Ezekiel as the better fit. I don't think he's necessarily the better running back at this time. I definitely pay Cook more. But I go Ezekiel Elliott with the Pats.
Yeah, I don't think Cook at this point is going to get what he's looking for. And New England won't probably pay him at all. I mean, Cook went to the Jets to visit last week and many thought he was going to sign. But obviously he's asking for way more than any team's looking to pay him.
And I thought he wanted to go to contender Cook. So the Pats aren't a contender.
No. Jets are?
Well, more than the Pats. AFC least.
Speaking of the Jets, though, they cut Strebler, so.
Come back to Winnipeg.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Who are you going to get rid of in that situation?
Shoot. He's going to Ottawa, isn't he?
Probably.
Karlsson traded to the Pens. Good move. I think it's a great move. Pittsburgh has to make this move. They can't rebuild with that core of 30-year-olds that they have. They're in that metropolitan division with Carolina, New Jersey, the Rangers, and Islanders. Might as well bring in a guy who can help score more points when you have guys like Malkin and Crosby. He's 33, and he's the younger of those guys. And you need a little help when, what's his name, is out for a bit.
Letang.
Gunsel. He's missing the first part of the season. So I like the signing, and they're not giving up much. A first rounder, so what? They're going to start the rebuild in a couple of years anyway, so I like it.
Yeah, you got Crosby, you got Malkin, you had Letang. You have to go all in, like you said earlier this week, or when the trade happened. Last dance. This is the last dance for Pittsburgh. I don't know if it's going to work out like it did for the Bulls. But yeah, I have no problem. I like the move. Kyle Dubas is going for it and going to knock Toronto out of the playoffs at some point. But good move. I like it.
Well, hockey gods and goddesses, I I will offer you lots of food if you do that. You got a shout out?
You know what? Let's shout out James Murphy, man, for we talked about him earlier, getting inducted. We didn't end up saying any of his stats, but he ended up 573 receptions, 9,036 yards, 61 touchdowns. And the one record that Milt didn't end up breaking was single season receptions for the team at 116. So plus his Grey Cups, his MVP, his Outstanding Player Award, 3-time Grey Cup champion as well, right? So
yeah,
2-time All-Star. So wicked career and wicked to watch him.
Best receiver on those championship teams.
Oh yeah,
I'd say even when he was he hurt in the 1990?
90, I think. Yeah,
Grey Cup.
Yeah,
still biggest distraction ever. Like, how can you not have two guys on him?
Yeah,
and he'll go anywhere on that field to get that ball. James Murphy, go check out the interview that we have in our archives. He was such a great dude,
and he had some great hair too.
Oh, the Jerry curl. What? Benny, you have anything to say to our friends?
Just, thanks a lot for listening. Don't forget, subscribe, follow, leave us a comment, and have a good week.
And in the words of Herm Edwards, you play to win the game. Bobby Dice, you play to win the game. Cut. Fantasy football coming up. If you could pick anyone with the first round pick, first overall, who are you picking? I'm taking Tyreek Hill.
What kind of league is it? Standard, PPR, whatever? Probably Justin Jefferson.
Whoa, you're not scared of that rookie they drafted?
Nah, Addison or whatever. I think Jefferson's still good. I mean, they had Thielen there last year, right?
Thielen's old. He's done, bro.
Even the year before, they still had Thielen or whatever it is. Jefferson's still the guy.
Still a good pick. You can't go wrong with that one either.
No.
You're not taking a quarterback in the first round?
No, I always take quarterbacks later. I can't stand taking it. Unless it was like, depending on type of league, right? That you needed a quarterback or maybe two quarterbacks, but I still probably wouldn't take them right away.
Hey, friends and neighbors, don't forget to check us out online on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter at Ray Benny Sports. And don't forget to check out our YouTube channel. Leave a like, leave a comment, tell us what you think.